a shocking cyber operation that could have changed the rules of shadow warfare. According to the Times, Ukrainian cyber units allegedly managed to obtain the coordinates of thousands of Russian military sites by exploiting vulnerabilities in the Starlink satellite internet registration system. Disguised as technical support, they created a Telegram channel through which they extracted user data, gradually obtaining even GPS coordinates. As a result, they gathered information on more than 2,600 terminals which, according to the publication, were used by Russian forces for communications, drones, and coordination on the front line. The obtained coordinates were passed on to the Ukrainian military and, according to sources, helped to identify enemy command posts, shelters, and logistical hubs, which allegedly even led to a decrease in intensity of attacks in certain areas. At the same time, there are reports of Russian email accounts being hacked and searches for defensive facilities in the rear. And against this backdrop, the main question arises: how far will the digital war go, where every click can become a weapon? Crimea is burning, and the primate war is disrupting the occupiers' logistics. A series of powerful strikes on Russian military trains. Locomotives and tank cars are exploding right while in motion. You get to see this first. And this is just the beginning. In Armyansk, the FSB building was hit. Footage of the strike has already been shown online. The occupiers remain silent about the scale of the damage, but explosions are being heard more and more frequently in Crimea. So, what is known about the new strikes? What losses might the Russian army suffer? And why is logistics now being called the main target? All the details are coming up in just a moment. Don't miss it. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. I'm Solomia Dolik, bringing you the latest events. The occupiers' logistics in Crimea are burning. The shadows of the defense intelligence of Ukraine have struck again at the Russian army's railway, the key channel for supplying equipment, fuel, and weapons. According to Ukrainian intelligence, in April of this year, the special unit Ukraine's Shadows carried out a series of 5 targeted strikes. These strikes were conducted right as enemy freight trains were moving. As a result of the attacks, locomotives used by the Russians to transport military equipment and fuel resources were put out of commission. A tanker car that was part of one of the supply trains was also hit. Essentially, these are strikes that directly undermine the occupying army's ability to quickly move resources to the front. Intelligence emphasizes that efforts to destroy and complicate enemy logistics are systematic and ongoing. The video showing the strikes, which was released as exclusive footage of the operation. The footage is already actively spreading online and is causing a significant stir. In turn, the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine emphasizes such operations are aimed at gradually cutting off the enemy's military routes and reducing their combat capabilities in the occupied territories. And that's not all. Strikes on Crimea are continuing. In Armyansk, the FSB building was hit. Footage of the strike has appeared. After a series of explosive attacks on the occupiers' railway logistics in Crimea, new reports of strikes have emerged. Another important facility of the Russian special services. According to monitoring channels, the strike damaged a building associated with the Russian FSB. This was reported by the channel Crimean Wind, which also published a video of the moment the facility was hit. The footage captures the strike and the subsequent aftermath of the attack. At present, there is no official information from the Russian occupation authorities regarding the extent of the damage. At the same time, in temporarily occupied Crimea, there has been a noticeable increase in the number of strikes on Russian military and infrastructure logistics in recent weeks, indicating a systematic nature of the attacks. Explosions near Moscow under attack. A key Russian military facility, air defense systems, engaged an entire series of drones. Once again, Russia woke up to the sounds of explosions and air defense operations. On the night of Thursday, May 7th, several regions of Russia came under a massive drone attack. The most tense situation developed in the Moscow region. Local residents reported a series of explosions, aircraft flying overhead, and active operation of air defense systems. They were trying to shoot down aerial targets. A video appeared online from Nara, where, according to Russian social media channels, a military facility of the Russian Ministry of Defense was hit. This refers to the Nara production and logistics complex, one of the key military hubs of the Russian army in the Moscow region. It is a large-scale facility covering more than 180 hectares, located within a military town. Its purpose is the storage, processing, and distribution of military cargo. Essentially, it is an automated logistics center for supplying the Russian army. Such facilities are referred to as high-value targets for strikes, since they have a direct impact on the supply of the front lines. Official Russian agencies, as usual, claim that the drones were shot down. However, local reports and videos from the scene indicate a much more complicated situation. After the attack, increased patrolling and emergency services activity were observed in the region. Information about possible damage is being clarified. What once belonged to the enemy now works for us. Ukrainian soldiers are refitting Russian tanks, APCs, and artillery, turning them into a real force on the front line. How the aggressor's equipment becomes our weapon and strengthens our defense. Watch in this report.
The D-30 is a howitzer with a 122mm caliber weapon. This particular gun is quite interesting because it was originally brought all the way from Kursk, specifically from the Kursk region. This is a prized trophy firearm, and it happens to be the exact same age as I am. We both date back to 1982, which makes this particular piece a very special part of my collection that has existed for as long as I have, sharing every year of my life. What does it really feel like to handle a firearm that is of Russian origin and was once stationed right at the border?
The very first feeling came with that initial shot. It literally took my breath away. It is really, really good, and it performed exceptionally well in terms of its overall accuracy and the rate of fire. Let us put it that way.
Already 3 times since then, this howitzer has fired at its former owners. Here, in the Kupiansk direction, it had to be repaired after being hit. The Russians hunt for such firing positions because as soon as they advance in waves or launch an assault, the artillerymen hear the command, "Gun to battle." What are your primary objectives at this location?
Infantry.
Concentrations?
Yes, large concentrations of infantry and motorcycles whenever they happen to be present. And lately, very much so. Very often they cut off our logistics. We are constantly being targeted by both FPV drones and Lancets. We do our best to stay hidden, because the better you hide, the higher your chances of survival are.
In Kupiansk, even after a successful counteroffensive operation and clearing, several dozen Russian soldiers still remain. They mostly hide in the basements of damaged high-rise buildings near the city hospital. They are tracked down when someone sees a Russian drone delivering supplies to a certain location. At the same time, the Russians are attacking east of Kupiansk in the area of Petropavlivka and are trying to approach Kupiansk-Vuzlovye.
The amount of gunpowder needs to be consistent, so that the shots will travel in a straight line.
What if one is lighter and one is heavier?
Then you won't be able to achieve consistent shooting. One flies much farther and one flies closer.
The crew of Larista Karadagova is preparing for work, weighing the gunpowder. They say everything is measured to the gram, just like in a pharmacy. Here at the front, technologies from World War II have intertwined with the technologies of modern warfare. At the same time, both drones from 2026 and cannons that are 40 or even 80 years old are in use. Do you have any other models to compare this cannon to? Did you have a previous model so you could say how this one really feels and performs to you?
We actually did. We used to work with the older D-44 model before, but it is really not comparable at all. This new one is much better, significantly sturdier, and much more powerful for our daily needs.
And this D-44, now what year was it from?
Actually, I believe it was from 1946.
Now it's more of a technological war. It's not like it used to be in the old days, when you had to drag a heavy cannon out into the open field, manually adjust it, fire, then hook it all up again just to leave. Now, everything is centered around technology, especially drones, and these drones are a real nuisance. Now we must constantly listen to the sky both while we are working and when we are moving. The sky above is now densely covered with every possible type of surveillance and attack drone the Russians have at their disposal.
Yes, we are definitely planning it right now.
On the screen are donation details for the National Guard's Karada Brigade, defending for over a year here in the Kupiansk direction. We are raising funds for Mavic 3 quadcopters and spare parts. What do you feel when you remember that this Russian cannon was brought here from Russian territory? Was it captured as a trophy?
First and foremost, there is a sense of pride for our brave comrades in the field who successfully captured this enemy cannon and then handed it over. And now it is striking back at their own lines as well.
On standby, plus before the release.
Maria Malivska, Alexander Brynza, Igor Serebrian, Fakti TV. The only news.
Report from Orikhiv. The city lives under constant shelling, and drones are constantly circling overhead of the enemy. How people survive, adapt, and hold on despite the danger. And what is happening on the streets where life has turned into a struggle for every single day. Watch more in the following report with
the brave soldiers from the 65th Brigade Veliki Lu. We are meeting at dawn. They are the only ones who agreed to take the TSN crew to Orikhiv.
The kill zone continues to expand by several kilometers almost every single month. The biggest threat right now is the drones that are hunting. They hunt both soldiers and, unfortunately, civilians.
Drones are not the only threat. In the sky, we see the trail of a Russian plane dropping bombs on Ukrainian towns and villages.
Quite frequently, they simply fly around in figure eights in the sky, so to speak, demonstrating their air superiority.
A brief briefing. The next stop is Orikhiv.
We begin to move out, and if we hear the command, the word drones, or hear any sound or see any movement, we leave the vehicle and immediately look for some cover. Not all in one spot, we need to spread ourselves out. And we listen, we absolutely must listen to the sky.
Orikhiv greets us with destroyed houses and ruined roads, as once lively streets have now essentially been transformed into a silent exclusion zone. So, in Orikhiv.
Now you can't just stand in one place. Here, you need to constantly keep moving, especially if you're out in the open and vulnerable.
This time we're heading towards the apartment buildings, and the fog is saving us. In bad weather, there are fewer Russian drones in the sky. The streets and courtyards of Orikhiv are practically strewn with enemy fiber optic cables. And unlike regular analog drones, these particular UAVs can fly even in bad weather. From the roof of the damaged apartment building, you get a completely different view of the wounded city. The Russians have completely destroyed this neighborhood. The buildings stand shattered. No one has lived in them for a long time. Below, we find remnants of Russian cables and drones.
They manufacture these weapons using materials like stainless steel or aluminum. They do not hesitate to utilize expensive metal just to kill us.
The fog has cleared a bit. It's time to get out of here. Locals don't go outside unless absolutely necessary. Mr. Vitali is coming back from work. He does odd jobs as an electrician. He says he's not afraid of shelling. He's long since gotten used to it.
It's kind of like it somehow comes in waves. We don't have drones or shells.
The city survives thanks to utility workers and police, the community head says. We're recording in a shelter.
There are no more units left for the state emergency service. On the territory, the police are still here in the city. And essentially we, the authorities, are all that's left. Getting into the city and leaving it again is the biggest problem we face, truly the biggest. Since all the anti-drone nets have already been damaged, we still manage to get in. So we get in touch with the local police, they tell us exactly what's happening in the sky, and then we start entering the city.
Despite the evacuation order, roughly 500 people continue to remain in the city. All of them flatly refuse to leave.
There are a variety of different reasons for this. For instance, one person notes, "I do not wish to leave my home." Other individuals explain that they cannot leave because of their illnesses or physical disabilities.
There's a different sense of time here, says Mrs. Svitlana. Life goes from one explosion to the next.
It's so incredibly painful to see your house completely gone, to see that it no longer exists. It's simply absolutely impossible to get used to this. The city no longer exists. This is what we have now. Ruins. It's ruins.
Shops and pharmacies haven't worked here for a long time. Recently, even the post office branch closed down. There are disruptions in communication.
Sometimes relatives reach out to us asking us to talk to them because there's no connection. Right now, there is no mobile phone connection in the city.
Locals avoid group gatherings. Once a month, a line forms at the Resilience Center. People are here for their pensions. Mr. Valery came to get money for his elderly neighbor, who can no longer walk. He got here by bicycle, although he says it's dangerous to ride it during the day.
You just hear about. As soon as you hear or see something, you have to drop the bike immediately, and right away, shrapnel landed 2 meters from me. I was already wounded once.
Where?
In the shoulder here?
Did you get treatment?
Yes, indeed, that is exactly right.
And so it still remains today?
It still remains, yes.
The Russians are attacking civilians with drones and have started dropping explosives into people's yards.
Actually, here I wanted to show you even a drone. An anti-tank mine was thrown right at the door.
From here, it's about 10 kilometers to the enemy. Tanks, artillery, and drones are gradually wiping out street after street. But Orikhiv is holding on. Daria Nazarova, Andriy Kupovka, Zaporizhzhia, TSN, 1+1, Marathon United News.
Meanwhile, at the front, the grenade launcher operators are giving the enemy no chance. The occupiers are trying to sneak up to our positions while Russian scouts are being captured one after another. What do the daily combat routines on the Pokrovsky direction really look like, and what does the guard with the call sign Mongol feel? We'll find out about all of this right now.
Of course, it usually takes 2 people to carry the body, but sometimes you have to do it alone.
Pokrovsky direction, Guard Maxim with the call sign Mongol demonstrates how the automatic grenade launcher works and how it is prepared for firing. In civilian life, he used to repair cars, but when the full-scale war began, he left his business and volunteered for the military.
Back in 2023, I volunteered for military service and served in the Donetsk direction. That experience was my very first combat baptism. I was near Bakhmut, and currently I am stationed in the Pokrovsky direction.
He says that the fighting is different in each direction. While in other sectors of the front there are cities and buildings, here it's mostly open fields and tree lines. That's why you literally have to hide underground.
You have to constantly dig in, dig in. Our primary task is to provide essential fire support for the personnel so that the ground troops can successfully enter and safely withdraw from the combat zone.
The crew works precisely like clockwork. The commander, gunner, and loader work in sync. One commands, one aims, and one loads. They work almost non-stop.
It actually used to be that you would go outside for a bit every half hour. And before all that, you really need to service the weapon, because it also needs to stop that constant whistling sound.
Sand, dust, and continuous operation wear out weapons quickly. But you can't stop. The enemy is constantly looking for an opportunity to advance.
There are certain moments when the enemy scurry and crawl in like rats, just like those worthless mice, and you don't even have enough time to work them over properly.
Sometimes the enemy gets so close that there's simply no time to think, and that's exactly when the drone operators come to the rescue. The eyes of Ukrainian units in the sky.
I clearly remember one particularly vivid moment from our last mission. The enemy forces got so incredibly close that they actually started tossing explosive grenades right into the middle of our dugout. But we didn't let them get any closer, thanks to our drone operators. They eliminated the enemy. We did have some losses.
The occupiers often try to act cunningly, sending lone soldiers on reconnaissance missions. They are harder to detect.
We successfully tracked down and identified a treacherous rat who was hiding in a dugout situated very close to our forward military positions, actively reporting back to his scumbag comrades about our exact locations and our total troop numbers. When we finally approached him, he chose not to resist and surrendered himself to our custody immediately without any resistance.
But even amid the daily grind of war, there are things that help you hold on. Phone calls from your wife, your mother, the voices of children. Things that remind you that somewhere far away there is another world without trenches and shelling.
When my younger son Danya calls and asks, "Dad, when are you coming home?" And you, after he asks, say, "Soon, soon." But you don't know when that soon will actually come. Still, it's nice when your loved ones call you.
Maxim says that at the front he realized just how fragile life can be. And this understanding gives you the strength to keep going. Together with his comrades, the guardsman continues his work on the front line so that one day he can return home to a peaceful country.
how do you feel about such events? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button under the video, and stay up to date with the main news. There's more to come. See you soon.